First, I'd like also express the thanks for everyone to come here, especially for people that have traveled 20 hours for this meetup. Also thank the sponsors for the event. Today I'm going to talk about the story of Alephium, the achievements, and also the vision of the project. It's been a long time, and the community has grown a lot. So I'm sure there are a lot of things, interesting things we can share here. First, a bit about myself. I actually started with a research background. I came to Switzerland like 10 years ago to do my PhD. I was working on consensus algorithm research. In 2015, I proposed the first million-time asynchronous Byzantine agreement algorithm. It was right now still has the state-of-the-art time complexity. The message complexity has already been improved by others. But I'm not just a researcher. I actually am very passionate about engineering. I really love building practical systems to solve real-world problems. And the Alephium is actually an exciting project to apply cutting-edge research and development. That's why I found it's really a great fit for my background, for my passion, and that's why I have worked on this project full-time for many years already. Let's see how the project started. It actually all started with this blockchain trilemma. It was a very hot topic in 2017 and 2018. Like projects like Eastman, they were talking a lot about this. The trilemma was at high level is about scalability, security, and decentralization and the balance among them. But from a very technical perspective, it's not just about these three dimensions. It has a lot of more things to consider, like consensus, historic growth, state growth, block execution, transaction execution, etc. So when building the real system, you have to consider a lot more stuff. And to improve the scalability, there's a very important and very key approach is called sharding. It's like in database, you have sharding to scale the database horizontally. So it's the same for blockchain. And Eastman actually started the scaling solution with this approach. I think starting in 2016, they started to focus on this. And also there are a few other projects they focus on this as well. But sharding actually is very challenging. Eastman worked on this for multiple years, but they had a lot of issues. They have a very complicated roadmap, and they have to upgrade it every few weeks or months. Initially, I followed the roadmap a lot closely, but after almost 1 year, I figure out that it's really too complicated. It's kind of you never know when it can deliver, and then that's why I started to kind of research this sharding in my spare time to see if I can find something interesting. So I think in the end of 2017, I started to already have some beautiful solutions in my mind. I call this algorithm BlockFlow. It's based on the Bitcoin core tech stack. It's very different from Eastman. I think part of the reason why Eastman the sharding failed is because it's kind of very hard to do is because they based on the account model, and the account model is kind of not so easy to do pairization. So BlockFlow is completely different from the other existing solutions. It's very elegant, and it has a very complete algorithm. Don't have any open problems in the proposal. Compared to the Eastern approach, the first notable difference is that there's no master chain. You don't have a kind of centralized the blockchain to sync all of the shards. And we also have an amazing feature is the cross-shard transaction only need one step. So this has the best user experience when people do transfer transactions. And we use DAG to reach consensus across the shards. And this is very standard techniques. And the algorithm is very elegant, very easy, very practical, and to implement. So we managed to deliver it like very quickly. The first test version was available in 2019. And Alephium is not just about the scalability. It started with the scalability. If you check the white paper, actually, it's only about scalability. But as the project evolves, we invent more like new innovations into the project. The second innovation was actually kind of inspired by 2019, by the year of DeFi. In 2019, we have seen the DeFi actually start to grow a lot. We see a few very notable projects, they get very popular, and then a bunch, like not a bunch, actually tons of new DeFi protocols was created. We see a very significant growth in the TVL, in the whole crypto space. But DeFi is actually very challenging with a lot of challenges. It's very hard with a lot of challenges. The first and the most notable one is the security risks. We have, like in the past, I think past 3 to 4 years, we have seen hacks probably every week, every month, and sometimes the hacks, like people lose a lot of money. Yeah, that's the security. And then there is the scalability issue. We often see that the transaction fee is very high on Ethereum. And another more technical issue is the state bloating issue. Is the blockchain gets heavier and heavier because people use DeFi, and then the blockchain states have to handle like too much states that you could handle. The last issue I want to mention is the user experience. Usually DeFi is like not easy to access for the average or to the everyday users, and also sometimes the tools probably not designed for average users. So Alephium also have quite a few very important, very good innovations on this direction for the DeFi challenges. First, we introduced a new model to solve basically the security issue. We employ a hybrid model. It combines the UTXO model and the account model. As we all know, that UTXO model is well known for its security. You never see like hacks on the blockchain of Bitcoin, for example. And the account model is very great for the programmability. So we took them together to try to get the benefit of both. And in this model, the transactions, they follow the UTXO because they follow the UTXO model. So we don't have the reentrancy attack. We don't support flash loan. So from the protocol level, such risks, they got eliminated completely. If you are familiar with UTXO model, you probably know that UTXO model is when you use it for DeFi, you're going to suffer from the so-called concurrency issue. But because we combine the UTXO model with account model, you don't have these issues. And the smart contracts, they could access mutable states in the contract directly. Then we create a brand new virtual machine to work with this new UTXO model. Yeah, we definitely cannot use EVM, partly because EVM has a lot of flaws. Also because our the transaction model is completely different from the account model, so we have to build a new virtual machine. Yeah, the virtual machine basically focuses on first the security and then also efficiency. Execution is more efficient, and the bytecode is more compact, and we have a few very important features like asset permission system to make sure that the transaction is much more secure than the EVM approach. Then we built a new language to work with the virtual machine. It's called RAF. It's a domain-specific language. In the design of the language, we try to keep it very as simple as possible. So new developers, they can just probably learn it in one day. Try to, thanks. Yeah, we try to make the language as simple as possible. I think we achieved this goal. I think right now the main challenge or main difficulty is to learn about the UTXO model related stuff. Otherwise, the language itself is really very easy to learn. And the next focus is the security. As always, we want we do everything with security by design. So we have a lot of kind of security features in the language. If you have tried it, you should be very familiar with what I have presented here. You have annotations for a lot of things. This can be very helpful for auditing. You have built-in functions for VM interactions. You have the a very kind of unique syntax for the APS system. We have built-in functions for contract creation, the migration. This actually on EVM it was kind of very hard to manage. Yeah, so that's our approach to the apps with a lot of focus on security and scalability. But Alephium's tech is not just about scalability and the apps. We also have something very interesting for the proof of work, because we are proof of work blockchain, so we want to also improve things on that regard. One of the main critiques for proof of work is the energy consumption, as you have already know. So we propose a new algorithm called the proof of less work to reduce the energy consumption. In the meantime, we try to retain the advantage of proof of work in the blockchain trilemma. For like proof of work has advantage in scalability and also in decentralization. How we achieve this by basically by shifting part of the external electricity cost to the network cost. So that's actually the three main pillars of the Alephium blockchain: the scalability and the new DeFi stack, and then the proof of less work stuff. Now let's see how kind of things going with this technology. We first launched the mainnet in 2020 in December. It's already, I think, more than 2 years, 2.5 years. The first mainnet launch was in the mainnet launch, we already have the very mature BlockFlow algorithm, and that part was very mature. And for the virtual machine and the programming language, it was pretty basic. You can use it to issue tokens. You can use it to call contracts. But some of the features are missing. So like after mainnet launch, we did not see a growth of DeFi because of the limitations. We have a simple TypeScript SDK as well. And we have desktop wallets back then. We also successfully bootstrapped the mining community. So it was kind of in a very early stage. Then in 2023, we successfully made the lemma upgrade. This grade is significant for the growth of DeFi ecosystem. We kind of get this upgrade by building the apps. We after the mainnet launch, we started to build reference implementations for DEX, for NFT, and also for Bridge, because we want to see by ourselves what's the limitations in our system, or what kind of new features is required to improve the user experience and dev experience. So we work on that, and then we got a lot of new features introduced in the upgrades. So here you can see a list of them. I'm not going to go through them. Yeah. Besides of the changes in the core in node, we also made mobile wallet and extension wallets for the lemma upgrades. it took us like almost, I think, more than 1 year to finish the first significant upgrade. And then most recently, we successfully activated the home upgrade. It's another very significant one. It's also a bit more than 1 year if you check the date. In this upgrade, we focus on dev experience and user experience. We reduce the block time. We introduce a lot of new features to the language and the virtual machine. Yeah, we also, for the SDK, is much more stable than before. Based on, we received a lot of great feedbacks since the first upgrade from the community. We improved a lot of things, and finally, I think the SDK is stable enough for the version 1.0. Yeah, that's a lot of milestones we have done since the mainnet launch, and we have also get very beautiful numbers since the mainnet launch. And here is a page I took from the team. They summarize all of the growth of the project. As you can see, like the first notable thing is that we are actually the second in TVL among all of the proof of work blockchains. Right now, yeah, a lot of activities are in the proof of staking blockchains. I personally believe that proof of work has great potential, and it needs a lot more innovation, and the Alephium is actually pretty advanced in the proof of work chain space. We organized the first hackathon. We got a lot of contributors. It's very impressive, and we also see significant growth in adoption, significant growth in the hash rate. I think we really in the past, especially in the past few months, in the past year, we got really very impressive growth. Yeah, now let's look forward a bit to see what we want to build together in the next months, in the next few years. I think for us and for almost every blockchain, the ultimate goal is to achieve massive adoption, to achieve network effects. From my personal opinion, we should focus on basically the four things to move forward in this direction. It is user experience, dev experience, and the core foundation, and then applications. User experience is actually like a lot of people talk a lot about this. Based on my personal experience, I think there are still a lot of things can be improved when it comes to crypto products. I personally don't understand why the user experience is not as great as expected right now, because this space has a lot of talented people and has a lot of money. I personally feel like things should be much better than right now. But like when we dig deep enough, we found that there are a lot of things we could improve. Yeah, so user experience is one of the big topics we want to focus on. There are a few items. We are going to improve the onboarding experience for new users. We are going to improve the wallets. Yeah, wallets is a very hard topic. Yeah, if you have tried a few wallets, you're gonna know like they have different wallets have different problems. Usually, it's not really friendly for everyday users. I personally think that we have a lot of things could improve. And then it's about the interaction with the apps. Like right now, we see a lot of hacks just because people interact with the apps and they don't know what happened or what happens under the hood, and sometimes they click with a wrong link and then lose all of the assets. We want to make sure this is much more secure than other blockchain. Because the other thing is the model is way more secure. We can do a lot of more cool things on this regards. And also we are going to work more integrations so that users, they can just do everything inside our new ecosystem. The second very important thing is DeFi experience. Like we have the blockchain, but that is not enough. We need to have a very good ecosystem with a lot of things for people to really like to use it. So from developer perspective, we want to make the whole developer experience very fun, simple, and secure. You don't need to like by default you should build very efficient and very secure dApps. Yeah, we have a few things to improve, but overall I think right now we already have very good starting points. We have very good tools. The API is kind of good enough, but there are a lot of things we could improve. Notably, we want to improve the cross-group communication. This is something we have received a lot of feedback on this, and also we see a lot of discussions on this on Discord, because we are Sharding blockchain. It's not easy sometimes to communicate between different groups if you have like contracts deploying on different groups. Right now we don't see this problem that much because most of the apps are on the group 0. But soon I believe that this is going to be a thing we need to solve. Yeah, right now we have a few solutions for this, but we could improve that. And the third very important topic is how are we going to improve the core foundation of the whole platform. I list a few things we want to improve based on the trilemma. We actually could improve, push all of the 3 dimensions a bit further. So scalability, we can optimize the protocol. We can also develop a Rust client to push the performance to the next level. We can add more shards on even layer 2 in the very long term. And for the security, we could harden the protocol. If you have built a system, you know that this is very important as well. We can introduce more security elements into the wallet support in the virtual machine. We can also add more features for DApp interaction. And for decentralization, we should make the infrastructure more efficient and more much easier to launch. For example, for Funnel, if it's very easy to launch and it does not require very high-end hardware, then like people usually more like to run it. Also, light client is very good for decentralization for a lot of use cases. Yeah, and we need to decentralize more about the hash rate. Right now, you see that the hash rate is kind of centralized in a few pools. But yeah, I think the situation is going to improve with new pools, for example, Ant pool. And the last thing I think is is a topic that we also have been discussed a lot. That's ultimately we want to decentralize the team because the protocol is supposed to be decentralized. Still, right now we are still in the early stage, so we need a core team to push forward a lot of things. But step by step, we're going to decentralize that part. Last part is about application. Yeah, we have developers, we have users, we have the very cool technology. We want to have applications, right? So in general, the mission of the core team is not to build applications. We focus on infrastructure. We build reference implementations. For example, we build the reference stacks. We built the reference marketplace. But ultimately, the operation or like new dApps is supposed to kind of build by the great community. And yeah, in the long term, the community should be way more big and more important than the core team. The core team will stay to be small and very agile to do a lot of research and reference implementation stuff or conceptual stuff. Yeah. So in general, for the whole community to build applications, I think the very important thing is if we want to build something very different, we should leverage Alphium's advantages on security and scalability. This is something not available on the current EVM ecosystem. And we can learn from the best dApps already that is already being built in the space. For example, when we were building the NFT, the DEX, we look into, for example, Uniswap, we look into OpenSea to learn from the practices. And the core team probably, as the core team, we could experiment and do some research on some unique applications on Alephium blockchain. Because we use UTXO model, we can do some P2P smart contracts. This is not available on EVM. We can also do some Bitcoin-like applications, like a Lightning Network. And also we can probably have new ways to interact with Bitcoin. Yeah, and there's another very important application we want to spend a bit more resources on is the cross-chain interoperability. Right now we have the wormhole bridge. We want to bridge to more blockchains. We also need to want to explore if we could integrate with a few more bridges. And last, we want to also explore some real world use cases. Right now, there are not so many, but because the crypto is gaining more and more adoption, so I think in the coming years we're going to see more real world use cases. Lastly, I want to talk about like in the next 3 or 6 months is what kind of things we're going to work on with high priority. The first thing is Oracle. Oh, Oracle is not. it's Oracle integration. Yeah, this has been highly demanded by the whole community. But yeah, it's going to come very soon. And then the same thing for developers, we have been asked about the language server protocol. It's also going to come very soon. Hello wallet. Users ask for this. Developers ask for this. We have the PR and we're going to review it and then get it submitted very soon. And then more bridges. Probably we're going to. I think we're going to work on this very soon. Probably first start with Binance Smart Chain and then Solana as well. And the last thing is network upgrades. We have successfully launched 2 upgrades. We are also considering the new one. Right now, we have a few interesting topics. The first thing is really to improve the wallet experience. For example, the passwordless wallet allow users to send transactions directly with the mobile phone, with your Google account, for example, and smart wallets. This is a bit like the account abstraction stuff, but with the UTXO model, you can do a lot of magic. And the next most important thing, very important thing, is cross-group communication, as I said before. Thank you for the attention. It's a long talk with a lot of technical details. I hope it's not so hard to digest. But thank you for the attention. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask. Yes. Yes, please.
During the Twitter spaces, you mentioned something that I didn't quite catch. So it was related to the cross shard, and you have some idea about how to do transactions that all involve one actual transaction. I didn't get this is to solve this problem of having the different shards. And can you repeat that stuff? You said it in Twitter spaces. I don't think you said it today, though.
Yeah. In Twitter space, talk a lot more about the details. So for cross group communication, you can right now you can already do something with the tokens, because right now tokens they are natively supported by different groups. You can transfer tokens from one group to another group, and because of this kind of how to say this kind of features, you can encode informations in the token ID, and then you can transfer token from one group to another group, and then you use the token ID for some information proof. This is kind of useful for a lot of use cases, because you can already move assets across group, and you can move informations across group. But the main issue is the experience is not so great. You have to, for example, you have to have 2 transactions, and you need to implement the proof logic in the smart contract. So we want to improve that. So first thing, we want to probably remove the proof part, so informations can be transferred directly from one group to another group. The second thing is we want to make sure that the users, they don't feel that they need 2 transactions to make things happen. So this is more on the application on the wallet side. We want to we want to support that like multiple transactions with one click in the wallet. So you don't need to so users don't feel like the kind of the lag in when they do cross group transactions.